or at least a funny story. John is going
We're going to try to do it.
All right. So John is going to speak on human motivation, and I'm going to go to the state capitol and see what I can do to make Maryland a happier, higher place. See you guys. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. It's great to be back here. I was here a few months ago, and you decided to have me back, and I really appreciate it. And as Dr. Davis mentioned, we're going to talk about human motivation this morning. It's kind of a follow-on because we talked about customer service when I was here last time, and I want to talk a little bit about how those go together. Now, he said, come and talk about human motivation. And I have to tell you that I'm probably here under a little bit of misinformation and a little misnomer, because I can't motivate people. Now, I know it sounds odd for a motivational speaker to say, I can't motivate people, but it's true. I can't motivate people, and neither can you. Now, let me explain how this works, okay? I want to first describe for you the basics of motivation. There's 3 basics of motivation. The first one is you can't motivate people, because motivation comes from within. It's within your own self. Every individual is motivated by whatever is inside themselves. So, basic number 2, everyone is motivated. Now, I know you're looking at some of your coworkers and you're going, I don't know about this one over here. And Ben, I don't think he's all that motivated. I mean, there's all kinds, you know. But I guarantee you, he's motivated. Everybody's motivated. They're just not necessarily motivated to do what you want them to do. And the third basic of motivation is that people do things for their own reasons and not for yours. So what does that mean for when you're trying to motivate your patient to take his medicine, or to show up for his appointment without canceling it, or forgetting about it until 4 years later? That was beautiful, by the way. What does that mean when you're trying to get them to do the exercises and the stretches that you asked them to do? Change their lifestyle, quit smoking, give up bacon. Who wants to give up bacon? Anything that sounds like applause when it's frying, you know, I don't want to necessarily give that up. Well, what does that also mean when you're trying to motivate your coworkers to get their paperwork in on time, to not leave and go to another organization, or to stay with us instead of running off, or to show up for work on time, or to go that extra mile and become a superhero of customer service? What does that mean when you're trying to motivate your teenager to clean up her room?
Okay. Thank
you. To come home early. To call you and let you know where she is. Or not to date that guy who wears his pants down below his butt. How do you motivate these people? Well, like I said, everybody does things for their own reasons, right? So I'm going to explain a little bit about how different we really are. We all like different kinds of music, I would imagine, right? What kind of music do you like? You, right here in the front.
80s rock.
80s rock. What do you like?
A lot.
A lot.
Rap, dubstep,
All kinds of stuff. All right, so you've got kind of a broad range. How about over here? What kind of music do you like?
Me? I like everything. I like country.
Country. Anybody like classical? There's a classical here. I'm a blues and jazz and folk kind of guy, world music. All right, there we go. We have a pretty broad range of kinds of music that we like. But we all listen to the same radio station. And that sounds kind of odd. It's a very eclectic station. Everything is played on it. It's WIIFM. Got to do that in a radio voice. WIIFM. It stands for What's in It for Me. You've heard that before, I'm sure. It's WIIFM, all me, all the time. Only the hits. But this is what we do. We filter everything, all the messages, everything that's around us. We're filtering through this radio station. What's in it for me? You are evaluating everything that's coming through to you, and you're deciding what value does it have for me, and do I want to pay attention? You're doing that right now. You're saying, does this fat guy up here in the front have anything of value to say to me? You did that to Dr. Davies. You do that to everybody. You're trying to decide if there's a value for you to listen or to pay any attention to what's going on. Now, there was a psychologist and university professor out in the University of Michigan named Victor Vroom, who came up with a theory. It's called Vroom's expectancy theory. And what it says is that people will do things and will put forth effort that will lead to a certain level of performance. And that level of performance will give them an expectation of what the outcome will be. And they'll decide all of this based on what the value of that outcome is. So if I show up for work, I expect I'm going to get paid. If I come to work early and leave late, that's going to kind of kick up my performance a little bit. Maybe I'll get noticed. Maybe I'll get a raise. I know the budget is tight, so we're only going to get maybe $50 a week more of a raise. Is that raise a high enough value for me to bother to come in early every day and stay late? That's the expectation. That's how expectancy theory works. People are deciding how much the outcome is worth to them before they decide how much effort they're going to put into things, or whether they're going to have any effort at all. So, a quick story, because I know I'm running out of time. A quick story. Back when I worked for the Maryland Department of Natural Resources, we had one message that we wanted to motivate people to do. Plant trees. Simple. 2 words. Plant trees. But we had no idea how to get people motivated to plant trees. So we looked at our various audiences, looked at the people around, and tried to figure out why would people want to plant trees? What value would they get out of planting trees so that they would get up and go do it? So we looked at school kids first. Kids are already in tune with the environment. It's amazing. It's the kids who are sitting there going, Mommy, that goes in the recycle bin, not in the trash can. This happens at your house, right, if you got kids? Kids are already in tune with the environment. So we knew that we can get them intrigued in environmental issues. We knew we can get them, if we tell them how much fun it is to get out and play in the dirt and plant trees, they would want to do it. We also know that there's a concern for kids, or I should say a desire in children, to want to be part of the future. So if you plant this tree here now, when you're all grown up, the tree's going to be that big. That's your tree, and that's going to be there. So kids, we go out to the schools and we give an Arbor Day, which is coming up. So anybody who has a kid who's around in the 3rd grade level, you're probably going to have that kid come home from school with a little tree. The forest rangers in the state will give out these little tree seedlings about that big to every 3rd grader. I think it's 3rd grader. Every 3rd grader in the state gets one. So they come home and they go, Mommy, Daddy, I want to plant my tree. And usually they go along with it. Sure, let's go plant your tree. It was a great way for us to finagle people to plant trees, right? But not every parent is going to listen to their kid. Not everybody has got a kid in that 3rd grade. And not every family has kids. So how did we get to the homeowners and get them to plant trees if they don't have that tie to the kids? What's that?
Did you give them a tree?
We didn't give them a tree because 9 times out of 10, those would wind up in the trash. So what would motivate these people to plant trees? Well, what do homeowners want to do? They want to make their property more valuable. They want to make their homes more beautiful. So we appealed to them and showed them how it increases property value when you've got trees on it. We talked about curb appeal and beautification and even energy savings if you've got shade trees near your house so you don't have to turn up the air conditioning so high in our lovely, sweltering Maryland summers. Another group we wanted to motivate were land developers, because those were the guys with the chainsaws who are chopping down all the trees. Those we figured were going to be the hardest nut to crack. Well, there's a law in the state called the Forest Conservation Act that says for every tree you cut down, you have to plant 2. That gets a little confusing for people. So, our motivation, the way we tried to motivate those folks was to get together with them and say, look, we will show you how to meet the requirements of this law. number one. Number two, we'll work with your planners to show you how you don't have to clear cut a whole piece of property. You can leave some trees there within your development, and it'll actually increase the value, and you can actually sell that property for more money if there's tree growth on it. And we had statistics to back it up. And then we also showed them how to build a mitigation forest. So if you have to cut the trees down here, we can show you how to build a forest over here by planting some trees. So again, we went for that dollar motivation and tried to show them how to do that. So 3 different groups, completely different motivations, but the same message. We had to understand where they were coming from, how to get inside their head, how to get on their WIIFM channel. We couldn't plant the trees. The only thing we could do is plant the seeds so that people would take it into themselves and make their own decision to motivate themselves to take the action we wanted to do in the first place, because it became their idea. And that's what all of us can do. So, if you want to motivate your patient to take his medicine, you want to motivate people to come into work on time, or whatever it is you want to try to motivate them to do, you want to motivate your kid to clean up their room, tune into their WIIFM and plant seeds of your own. I encourage you to take something from what we talked about today, learn something, and you guys are coming in, you're told every month when you come into these meetings, tell us a funny story. Hopefully you're not just sharing funny stories, but you're sharing stuff that you can learn from. And I know it's, hey, make us laugh, no pressure, right? I know you had fun with that. But take every experience that you have, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's funny, whether it's horrific, and learn something from that experience and apply that, and it becomes part of you. So I encourage you, learn something new every day. And I have some bookmarks here. So as you're reading and learning something new every day, you'll have my ugly mug staring at you to remind you to do that. So help yourself to those, and thank you for having me out.
Thank you, John. That was great. So the bookmarks will be in the back by the sign-in sheet, and if you haven't signed in already, please do so.